Design tables are a great way to create multiple configurations of a part using an Excel spreadsheet. To get started, we can go up here to Insert, we can go over here to Table, and then click on Design Table. You can see here I've got a couple options. I can start with a blank design table, which I wouldn't recommend. Use the auto create, or you can create it from a file if you're getting real fancy. Now you have a couple other options here as far as model edit and changes and parameters. I'm going to go ahead and just click on auto create and click OK. And as soon as it does so, you can see it gives me an option of which dimensions I want to bring in to create my table. So I have a D1 at Sketch 1, I have a D2 at Sketch 1, and I have this D1 at Boss Extrude 1. Now I only have 3 dimensions in this part to make it very simple and straightforward, but I don't necessarily know what each one of these values are. And especially if you have a design table with a bunch of values, it definitely makes sense to name these values something a little bit more descriptive than just D1 or D2. So let's cancel out of this for right now. So cancel. And then because I canceled, there's no instances found. Go ahead over here to the configuration manager, and you can see there is that design table that automatically got created in there. So I'm going to right click on it and just click on delete. Click yes. And now I'm back to my original individual configuration, my default configuration. Now let's go back to the part itself. Let's go ahead and open up sketch number 1 and look at it normal. This first value here is 200 millimeters, and you can see over here the value for it. If you right click on it, you can see D1 at Sketch 1. Okay, so I can change this to whatever I want. So I can type in length, and over here I can say, nope, not there, depth, and back to the 100. Okay, so now each one of these values has a reference primary value. It's depth at Sketch 1, or up here it's going to be length at Sketch 1. Now I can also change Sketch 1. I can change the value or the name of Sketch 1. So this is going to be the base drawing. Now if I go back to these individual dimensions, I can see I have length at base drawing. Much more descriptive. Now exit out of that and then come over here to the Boss Extrude 1, and I can call this one base thickness. And then I can also right click on that or click twice, and you can see this value here, which is the 50. And same thing there. I can change, instead of D1 at base thickness, I can change that value to be thickness. Okay, now if I click on each one of these values, this is thickness at base thickness, and the other two have their names as well. Now let's go ahead and start that design table. So go up to Insert, Tables, Design Table, Auto Create. Now this time I get much more descriptive names, and I want to click on the first one and select all 3 of these. So hold down Control, select all 3, and then create a design table from all those. If I only wanted to bring in one of those, I would just select that option, or 2 of those. It doesn't matter. I can bring in 1, 2, or all 3. Click on OK. And then it opens up a small version of Microsoft Excel right here as a design table. Now anytime I want to add a new row, just type in, for instance, number 2 or any descriptive name you want right here, and then put in the values. So in this case here, I'm going to type in 400. I'm going to type in 200 for the depth, and for the thickness, I'm going to type in 100. I can then continue with as many configurations as I'd like. So let's go ahead and type in number 3 here. So number 3, and this time I'm going to make this one a real small one, and let's make it 50 by 20 by 10. You do have to put in each one of these values though. So if you left one of these values off, it would cause an error. So make sure if you are adding another configuration that you add all these values. You can also use a trick inside of Excel by selecting all the different columns you'd like and then selecting the rows you'd like, and then hit Control D for down to fill down. Now I've got all these options here. That's also in your toolbar up here under Fill, and then down, upper right. Once you have all those values there, notice it still is number 3 all the way down, so I need to change each one of those to number 4, number 5, or each individual name doesn't really matter. So number 5, 6, 7, and finally 8. So that's going to create us all these different configurations right off the bat. And notice they're all exactly the same values. So let's go ahead and just change them from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. Click anywhere outside of that Excel window. It's going to create all these configurations for us. Click on OK. And go over to my configuration manager here. You can see I have all the different configurations. All I need to do now is just click on any one of those and look at my brand new configuration of that part. And there's all the different configurations. Now you can change the color of each one. You can change values, the names, and so on. And if you ever need to go back to the table, open up tables, right click on the design table and click on edit table. And here you can add more configurations. You can change the values and you can adjust the parts. You can also add some other information here, but in this case, you click on OK. And we're back to our table. We can adjust things as needed. Let's change this one to 100, for instance. Click outside of there, that configuration gets updated. And I believe that's number 2, maybe number 3. And there it is right there. So a very quick way to add a lot of configurations of your same part by using Excel. It's pretty straightforward, but it does help out to name your individual dimensions, so it makes it easier to bring them into Excel when you start creating the table.